Okay, back for fifth and final match of the league on the play, which is always nice. Um, see, I these hands are awkward because it's one land. We get to play one drop, but we don't have any guarantee of playing anything else. Having Gore Clan and Bushwhacker in our opening hand are kind of awkward because they're never going to do anything till turn 3, usually turn 4 at best. This hand, they don't know if they'll do anything useful at all. I think I'm gonna have to mulligan. I think it's important to know that you have to mulligan aggressively with this deck. This hand we can keep. Not super impressive, but we've lands to play our spells. We have one drop. It's always nice. So they're gonna keep, and we're gonna scry. I think I'm gonna put that to the bottom, hoping to find another creature. It doesn't actually matter because we went first with a fetch land, but might though. Again for 2. What are they playing? Ooh, Urza's power plant. So most likely on Tron. I would assume the Tron matchup is favorable if they don't hit turn 3 Tron. I'm gonna play Dried Arbor here because we're not playing anything else. Might as well put into play. It does have Summoning Sickness because it is a creature, so you cannot tap it the first turn it comes into play. So it's like a worse land. It is a free creature, but it's a kind of a bad land, basically. Ooh, Pyroclasm. That is a particularly good card against our draw, if they can cast it. I don't think they'll be able to cast it on turn 2, unless they play Grove of the Burn Willows. Oh, they had it. That's the only land that lets them play that on turn 2. That's kind of gross. Most of our creatures actually live through Pyroclasm. This is just a very specific draw where our creatures don't. Yeah, just have to pass here. These cards are obviously very awkward to have early on in multiples. They're kind of good as the last card or two in your hand, but not at all as our only cards in hand right now. We don't even have a third land to just play this for 3, which we probably would have done. That was pretty backbreaking. And they're going to have Tron on turn 4. Things do not bode well for us. At least game 1. I'm going to bolt them and surge out the Bushwhacker. Just to play things. To put some amount of pressure on them. They are at 11. But they probably have some big card they can play now that they have Tron. They have 8 mana. 8 mana. Could play Karn, Wormcoil. I was gonna say Worldbreaker, but yeah, that's something they could play. Might concede here. Clan doesn't even trample over this. I'm gonna concede. Game's pretty over. It was a combination of us mulliganing to a not very good start, and then our threats being exactly the cards that get punished by Pyroclasm. Gonna bring in Molten Rain, of course, as well as Path to deal with their big creatures. Once again, Rancor and Gorklan aren't very impressive. Usually they're good against creature matchups, but matchups we played against have been very specific where they're not good. I think I'll bring in one Revelry. I don't really like Thalia. Yeah, I think Revelry's okay. Not insane, but sometimes it does work. Killing off their one artifact. Hand's good. Well, good enough. Get to play creative on turn 1 and a third land. Probably mean we can Bushwhacker out. Tarka's Command, I think. Then I'm going to the Temple. I'll play Flinthoof. So if I draw a third land, next turn I can go Crit Ape into Bushwhacker. If not, then I can just go Crit Ape, leave a path. Something like that. And right now, if we look at this start, their Pyroclasm isn't good at all. There's a Wormcoil Engine, so probably gonna get some use out of that path. Experiment 1. Okay, let us go. Experiment 1 into Curt Ape. And then we don't know if they have Natural Tron yet. But if they do, we can always Path. And with a land, we can go Path into Bushwhacker, which should be lethal. Well, they do have Natural Tron. Pretty good. But we do have our, ace in the hole against it. Oh, that's a good draw. Another play we could have done is also just attack. If we don't have a path, say we attack with everything, Tarkus Command, pump the team, or deal 3 damage, and then they can't gain the life to stop the life gain from Wormcoil, but we do not need to do that. It's actually more damage to use a Tarkus Command here, because it pumps the entire team plus dealing 3 instead of pumping the team plus putting a 2-2 haste, or 2-1 haste. Just gonna do whatever source does the most damage. Didn't even count exactly how lethal it is, but it's definitely lethal here. Yeah, it's +3 overkill. Okay, so that was definitely better than game 1. Had a smoother draw there. Despite them having turn 3 Tron. I think we'll just keep our strategy. Didn't have to do too much sideboard changes, but I think that's the point of the deck. You don't want to make too many changes in matchups because your deck is so much redundancy and you always want to have the same consistent draws. A lot of people times will side in too many cards and that dilutes their deck. I will keep this. Does not have any way to really combo them off or a very explosive start or deal with the Wormcoil, but it's solid enough that we can't mulligan. I did start off with a forest, so doesn't mean they can't have Tron until at least turn 4, which is probably a good thing for us. But if I had to guess, they would probably have it on turn 4. I'm going to play Flinthoof Boar. Wonder if they even kept in their Pyroclasms. I mean, from looking at game 1, they might think it's very good, but would not really have been good either game 2 or here. So getting the expedition, searching for the land. They're just playing the land off of it right away, which makes me think they might not have Tron. A lot of times if they had Tron, they would play the other land and then hold up the expedition map. So there's a chance they don't have it. and they need to play land. They're just trying to make their land drop. What do we do here? So I think our plans are to try and kill them next turn. So I'm going to attack for 5 then. Then a coddle and leave up a lightning bolt. We can only kill them next turn if we draw land, and if they don't do something like Wormcoil or Ugin or Worldbreaker, that relies on them having Tron. So they don't have Tron. There's a Thought-Knot Seer. Okay. That's not a card I've seen from a lot of Eldrazi, but it is a good one against us. 4/4 is kind of annoying. And they get an exile card from our hand. Might just exile the Bushwhacker or Bolt. Bolt seems reasonable. Now we have to think what happens if we draw certain cards. So, if we bolt them, put them down to 10, and we draw a land, we gotta go Experiment 1 into Bushwhacker, which 4, 4, 3. That would be lethal. If we draw a Burning Tree, it would also be lethal. If we draw a Tarkus Command, that would be lethal as well. Yeah, it would be exactly lethal with the Tarkus Command. So I do think we want to bolt them end of turn here, because there's a lot of top decks that have them dead. Molten Rain is not one of them. If we attack, that puts them down to 5. It's unfortunate to draw the Molten Rain without a third land. I'm definitely attacking here because if they do top deck Tron and do something like Ugin, I want to have gone through damage, even though it's unprofitable to, we're losing creatures here, but at least it gets us damage through, while if they go Ugin, we're just going to lose all our creatures either way. And there's a good chance we can just force through enough damage to kill them this turn. Another Thought-Knot Seer would be annoying. I wonder if they play a bunch of Eldrazi's, or maybe they just play Thought-Knot. There's a star. That is an aggressive attack. That makes me think they have double Pyroclasm. It must be double Pyroclasm. That's the only way they can do this. That's the only Wrath effect they would have, and usually when they attack in a spot like this, they have to have the Wrath. They can't even have a second Thought-Knot Seer because I would still be presenting lethal. So assuming they have a Wrath, I'm supposed to block here. Like, nothing else makes sense to me. Would be pretty next level if they just played a Thought-Knot here. And if they do go double Pyroclasm, we get our Lightning Bolt back. There's a Pyroclasm. Oh, we don't get our Lightning Bolt back. We draw a card. Forgot about that. But there's a land, and that is lethal. Because we go fetch for land. Actually, I get to show off an interesting interaction that's good to know for the deck. How it works is Experiment 1 and Bushwhacker. You have to stack the triggers properly to make sure you get the evolve. So I'll play Forest, play Experiment 1, Surge out Bushwhacker, and we want to click this one first so that the Experiment 1 evolve resolves first, and it sees that this is a 2/1 and grows, because if we do it the other way, the Experiment 1 becomes a 2/1, and then it doesn't grow because it's the same size as a Bushwhacker. So this way makes it a 3/2 instead of a 2/1. And we get through for exactly lethal. So it actually did matter that we stacked those right. And there we go. We broke even in the league, went 3-2. We lost to a burn deck and we lost to an affinity deck. And I think those are actually both favorable matchups. I think our draws just weren't too exceptional. The affinity one wasn't on camera actually, but the other ones were. So I'll have all four of those matches up so you guys can go back and watch that, as long with the deck tech for the zoo deck. Guess we can bring it up, but I hope you guys enjoyed it and, love making content for different decks, either modern and standard or the formats I play the most. And, feel free to check me out on Twitch also, where I stream a lot of these decks. And hope you guys enjoyed.